whoever does an act of worship which we have not prescribed, we've not legislated, they engage in bid'ah, then their acts of worship will be rejected. They won't be accepted. And so we want to avoid that. We want to avoid falling into that. We don't want to make all this effort and not have our deeds accepted. So the way that we avoid this bid'ah is pretty simple on the surface, on the face of it, by basically strictly following the sunnah of our beloved Prophet ﷺ in the area of worship, wa wasa'il al-ibadat, the means and methods of worship. So it's not just the act of worship itself, but it's the things that we need to do to get us from point A to point B. Those things are also a part of the mutaba'ah, or the following, al-ittiba' that we need to do to the Prophet. And achieving this requires that we follow the Prophet and ensure that what we do and how we do it is in accordance with his teachings in 6 areas. So there are basically 6 things. If we can check these boxes, we'll avoid al-bid'ah. So the first one is a sabab, the reason, the root cause, the underlying motivation. When a person is going to do an act of worship, they need to make sure that the sabab, the reason they're doing that act of worship, is in line and in keeping with the reason why the Prophet did it, the motive, the root cause that the Prophet had. If we do a specific act of worship for a specific reason, that reason must be supported and substantiated by religious precedent. So basically, there are acts of worship. Some of them are what we call ibadat mutlaqa. They're ibadat that can be done at any time and under any circumstance. Okay? They don't need a motive. There are some motives that are legislated. For example, let's take fasting. Fasting is what we call ibadah mutlaqa. It is an open-ended, unrestricted act of worship. There are very limited times where you're not supposed to fast, like on the day of Eid, right? There are days where you're discouraged from fasting, like on Jumu'ah, right? But generally speaking, a person can fast what? Anytime. It's ibadah mutlaqa. You don't need a reason. There are some legislated reasons for fasting. For example, Mondays and Thursdays. We're encouraged to fast on those days. Ayyam al-Biyud, the days or the days where the moon is at its full, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of every lunar month. 6 days of Shawwal, the day of Ashura. There are some days where we're encouraged to fast. Y'all see that? And so the Sharia has given us a sabab, given us a reason, a root cause, a motivator to what? To fast. If a person fasts outside of this, they can do that. Person fasts on Wednesday, they can fast on Wednesday. But if they assign a cause or a root cause or a reason, a motivator for fasting on Wednesday, a specific reason to fast on Wednesday, that would make fasting on Wednesday a bid'ah. See that? You see a person, he fasts every Wednesday. He said, I notice he fasts every Wednesday. Why is that? He's like, well, where I work, the work is so intense. My off days are Tuesday and Wednesday. The work is so intense where I work, I can't fast on Mondays and Thursdays. It's too intense. But I want to get some, super regulatory fasting in. So I fast on Wednesday because I'm able to. We would say, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. See what I'm saying? Another person, you see him fast every Wednesday. Brother, why do you fast every Wednesday? I noticed that. He's like, my father died on Wednesday. So I fast to mark the occasion and celebrate his memory. Y'all see that? That becomes what? Bid'ah. This one fasted on Wednesday, it was fine. This one fasted on Wednesday, it was what? Bid'ah. Lish. Because he made what? He made a specific reason for fasting that the Sharia didn't give. Y'all see that? Won't tell. But number 2. Al-jins. The type, the kind of act one performs and the form the act of worship takes. This also has to be in agreement with what? With what the Prophet legislated, what the Prophet taught, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us from deen. We cannot perform an act of worship which in and of itself has no precedent. A person basically creates a form of worship out of nowhere, right? So the jins, the type, a Noah is something what? It's unprecedented. Okay? So for example, a person during the time of Udhiyah, at the time where people are doing Qurbani, Udhiyah, right? He goes to a farmer and he says, "You have any horses? You have any horses I can slaughter?" You know, we're doing Qurbani this time of year. We're doing Udhiyah. I want to slaughter a horse. The type, the form of act of worship that you're doing is unprecedented. Right? Because during Udhiyah, we can slaughter one of three things. What is that? We slaughter what they call Bahimatul An'am. That's what? Camels, cows, and sheep or goats, right? Which are basically sisters of each other. That's what you can slaughter. You can't slaughter a chicken for Qurbani. And you can't slaughter a horse for Qurbani. You can't slaughter an elephant for Qurbani. Y'all see that? So the type matters. The type matters. You can't say, well, hey, the elephant's bigger than a camel. Bigger than I mean, it's more expensive. You know what I mean? That's better. No. We gotta stay within what? Within the restrictions and the limits that have been given us in terms of what? The type, the jins. Give you another person, for example, if you guys notice now, if you go to, I don't know how many you go to churches. I don't know if people go to churches. But in churches, one of the things that they do is like, it's uncanny now. And I imagine if you went back 200 years, that was not the thing. 200, 300 years, maybe a little longer, depending on where you go. The tradition is going to be different. But you can't go to a Christian church now and they don't sing. As part of their service, as part of the worship. Singing to them is worship. Y'all see that?
Of singing.
Singing, yeah, singing. And not just singing, not just a cappella, now they have like bands, like school bands, right? Drums and guitars and organs and, you know.
They have rappers now.
Exactly. So we can't bring that into our religion, for example. Unfortunately, some people do. Some people basically sing as an act of worship. And they sing as a way of da'wah. They rap as a way of da'wah, right? And so we can't do that because what? This is not the type or the form that we've been given. But number 3, al-qadar. Al-qadr, you could even say al-adad. Al-qadr or al-adad, the amount. So there are many acts of worship where a certain amount or a number is prescribed. Or no exact amount has been designated and the matter has been left unrestricted. So you have some acts of worship where you have a specific number. Dhuhr is 4 what? 4 rak'ah. It can't be 3, it can't be 5. Al-adad is what? Is muhaddad. The number is what? It's fixed. You have some acts of worship where what? There's no fixed number. Right? There's no fixed number whatsoever. So for example, when a person is going to go out and give da'wah, right? A person is going to leave his locality and go and do what? Give da'wah. There's no specific number. The Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to what? To Yemen to be his ambassador to give da'wah. إِنَّكَ تَأْتِ قَوْمًا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ فَلِيكُنْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ. I'm sending you there for what? A da'wah. He said, you're going to come to some people from the people of the book and I want you to invite them to Islam. Let the first thing you invite them to be, right? Didn't tell them, hey, I want you to go for a month. I want you to go for 3 months. I want you to go for a year. No, just what? Go and give da'wah. You see that? Give da'wah until you feel like what? You've succeeded. Fi da'watik. Tayyib. So, that being the case, if we have an ibadah where it's a fixed number, we can't change the number. And if we have an ibadah where there's no fixed number, we can't fix a number and say, hey, this is how you worship Allah by doing it for what? For this amount, this length of time. Y'all see that? The example we gave last year that Yunus didn't like, last week we gave it, Yunus didn't like, he fought me about it. Y'all remember? He threw me down on the ground. Y'all remember that, right? Everybody remembers that. He threw me down the ground. And there's cameras everywhere, brother. He was captured. And we talked about that a particular group that we won't name the group, But they basically say, hey, we give da'wah. But when we give da'wah, we do it for 3 days. 3 days in a month. 1 month in a year. And 4 months in what? In a lifetime. They fix what? They fix an adat. Can't do that. That makes it what? Bid'ah. Y'all see that? طيب, I want a better example than this, but I'm gonna give this example just so we can conceptualize it, or we can get a picture of it. Even though this is something that you, inshallah, will never see it. I pray to God. But imagine somebody made dhuhr, they made it 5 rak'ah. They made 5 rak'ah for dhuhr, but it's only supposed to be 4. That would be what? Bid'ah. And not only would it be bid'ah, that salat would not be accepted bil ijma. And the person makes 5. You're like, man, you made 5. Like, I know, man, but 5 is better than 4. Alhamdulillah. Allah, that's 1 more rak'ah. Allah, I appreciate that. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to, if Allah says 4, you have to do what? 4. Confine yourself to 4. طيب, ثم بعد ذلك, number 4, al-kayfiyya. Al-kayfiyya, the method, the how of the act of worship, and the manner in which it is performed, right? So, the Prophet teaches us, for example, to make dhikr. And he teaches us the way to make dhikr. And he himself demonstrates that. So we can't come later and do what? And make dhikr in a way which is different, deviates from the way the Prophet made dhikr. And then when somebody questions us or challenges us, we say, dhikr is a part of the deen. What are you talking about? Yeah, dhikr is a part of the deen, but the way you're doing it is not a part of the deen. So for example, one thing that's become more and more common is what they call a dhikr al-jama'i. Collective dhikr. People get together, get in a circle, and what? They make dhikr together. Jazakallah khair, Abu Khalid. Right? They make dhikr together, dhikr jama'i. And sometimes they even add other elements to it. So the dhikr takes on the form of singing, and sometimes there's what? There's movement with it as well. You see that? All these other elements get added. And that's the thing we talked about last week. That the thing about bid'ah, it starts out saghira, and it starts out harmless. It seems harmless. We're just making dhikr. We're just brothers getting together making dhikr. What's the problem with that? Yeah, but then what? Takbur, hatta takuna kabira, right? It starts out as something small and harmless until what? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes what? It becomes something that's very, very bad, very, very far away from the sunnah, and something you can't turn back. You can't, once you let Pandora out of the box, you can't what? Can't put it back in, right? Or the genie out of the bottle, or whatever, however they say it. So, and it happened at the time of Ibn Mas'ud that one of his companions, one of his pupils came, and he was like really flustered. He said, I saw something in the masjid, and it didn't seem right. But I didn't say anything because I didn't see anything but good. The people were doing something good. They weren't drinking alcohol in the masjid, right? They were doing something that is part of the deen, but it didn't seem right. So I wanted to ask you, what did you think? And he said, well, what did you see? He said, come on with me so you can see it for yourself. So they took Ibn Mas'ud, these two pupils, they took Ibn Mas'ud to the masjid, and he saw people in what? In hilaq. He saw them in circles. And they were making dhikr. At the head of each circle was a man with stones, and he would pick up a stone, he would say, Hallilu mi'atan. He would say la ilaha illallah 100 times. Sabbihu mi'ah. Say subhanallah 100 times. Kabbiru mi'ah. Say Allahu Akbar 100 times. And they would do it. And Ibn Mas'ud ankar alayhim, he disapproved of it. He said, Uddu sayyi'atikum. He said, instead of doing this, count your sins. Then he even said, this is the bowl of the Prophet lam tuksar. Or aniyat an-nabi lam tuksar. He said, this is the bowl of the Prophet and the bowl and the plate and the utensils he ate and drank from. They still with us and they haven't been broken. Meaning what? It's not been long since the Prophet was with us. And he said, Ashabuhu mutawaffirun. He said, and his companions are everywhere. If you want to know how to worship, ask them. Why are you doing this? And he said, Imma antum ala millatin khayrin min millatin nabi. Aw mufattihu babi dalala. He said, either you people are on a religion that's better than the religion of the Prophet, or you're opening the door to what? To misguidance. Y'all see that? he disapproved of what they were doing, and they said we just they even said the famous statement, or they said ما أردنا إلى الخير. And then Ibn Mas'ud, he responded with the famous statement where he says, كم مريد للخير لا يصيبه. How many people want to do good, but what? But they miss the mark, right? They end up doing something bad. This is an example of him disapproving of what? Al-adad. I'm sorry, not that al-adad al-kayfiyya, the way they did it. It wasn't the dhikr that he was disapproving of, it's just the way that they were doing it. Tayyib, I don't have the greatest memory in the world, and so far we mentioned 4 things, and I don't think we should continue to the 5th and 6th one until we review and make sure that we know the first 4. So what were the things that we said? You know, this memory, this brain's getting old. So what were the things that we said? A sabbath, the reason, right? The root cause. Number 2. Huh?
The how.
The how of it, the kayfiyya. All right. What else we got? And the adad, ahsan, the qadr, the amount. And what's left? Anybody? Save us. Save us from falling off the cliff. What is it? Can you slaughter a horse? Can you slaughter a horse?
No.
Kayfiyya, we did the tight and jins. Ahsantum. Good job. All right. But number 5, az-zaman. The timing. The timing. There's some acts of worship that have a specific what? A specific time or a specific season. And if you intentionally perform those acts of worship outside of the specific time or season, then you're guilty of what? Al-bid'ah. So for example, one thing that I've seen it, and it's unfortunate, you have some people who do what? They intentionally miss all their prayers. And then they'll come at the end of the day and they'll combine all the prayers at the time of Salat al-Isha. Yeah, some people go to work and they're closet Muslims. They don't want nobody at work to know they're Muslim. So I can't sneak into the conference room and pray and somebody walk in there and see me praying and they know I'm Muslim. It would be revealed. People would know. I can't do that. Or the work is so what? Intense. I work in one of these factories and I'm on the assembly line and they give us like 15-minute breaks to use the restroom. That's it. That's not enough time to go to the restroom, wash up and pray. So I just have to what? To combine all my prayers at the end of the day. You see that?
Ramadan in December.
Ramadan in December. Yeah. There's a group that does that.
What?
There's a group that does that. They fast in December. They fast in December because it's the shortest days of the year. That's right. Jazakallah khair, Dr. That's a very good example.
This is when I first came to this country. I went to this group and they were doing Ramadan.
Ramadan in December.
You did?
And then I left and I said, this group, I can't stay with them.
Subhanallah. So that's another good example. So, and then if we want to look on the other side, where there's a specific time or season for something, and you do it outside the season, is if a person made udhiyah fi awa'il dhul hijjah. As soon as the hijjah comes in, he's like, let me get my qurban. I'm getting something that's going to get busy. These farmers are going to get busy. Farmers are going to get busy. It's going to be a bunch of people out here, and I like to do my thing in private. I like to just do it by myself. I don't want to be bothered with anybody else. So I'm going to go early, first, second day of the hijjah. I'm going to go to the farm. I'm going to do my udhiyah. And I'm going to do a horse. I'm going to do the horse on top of that, right? So a person does udhiyah first couple of days, but udhiyah has to be done when? After the salat. After the salat. Anytime after the salat and fi ayyam at-tashriq. Y'all see the day of the Eid or ayyam at-tashriq. But a person does it what fi a while. And actually it happened at the time of the Prophet that he was on his way to Salat al-Eid. Yusalli bin-nas. And he came across a man from his companions who was just mustabshir. He was just so happy. And he said, Bahait. Right? He said, I did my udhiyah. That's why I'm so, just so happy because I just got that out the way. Right? And the Prophet said, Innama shatu shatu lahmin. He said, that sheep that you slaughtered is just what? It's just meat for your family. Right? Then when he got to the salat, he said, Ya ayyuhan nas. He said, how do you put it? How do you start it? Yeah, ayyuhan nas. I can't remember the first part of the of the hadith, but basically what he said that al-udhiyah has a specific time. He said, so whoever slaughtered before the salat, then let him what? Let him slaughter again after the salat. because what? There's no slaughtering before what? Before the salat. Okay, so we said a sabab, then we said al-jins, then we said al-adad or al-qadr, and then we said what al-kayfiyya, and we said what? Al-zaman, right? The reason, the amount, the type, the how, right? Or the method, and then what? The time. Got one left. Al-makan. Al-makan, the place. The place. So there's some acts of worship that have a designated certain places for them. Allah has designated certain places for them, or the Messenger has designated certain places where these acts of worship have to be observed and performed. So for example, al-tawaf and al-sa'i have to perform where? The Masjid al-Haram. That's the only place you can do a tawaf or sa'i. You can't go to a shrine and do what? Do tawaf around somebody's tomb. Y'all see that? You can't do that. Not only is it shirk, it's also what? Bid'ah. Okay? Similarly, an i'tikaf cannot be done in a place other than a masjid. A person can't make i'tikaf in their home. Right? I got a guest room. Man, let me give me a tent and I'm just going to do i'tikaf in this guest room. You can't do that. Right? You got to do i'tikaf what? In the masjid. In the masjid. And you have to do a tawaf or sa'i. Huh? In al-Masjid al-Haram. So there are certain places where certain things are designated to be done. They have to be done in those places. The al-qubur, the cemeteries, are not a place for reading the Quran, and they're not a place for salat. To the point that the Prophet said, he said, لا تجعلوا بيوتكم قبورا. Don't make your homes what? Graveyards. Places where what? The Quran is not recited and the prayer is not made. Y'all see that? Meaning telling you that what? The qubur is not a place for it. But people do what? They go to the grave and they do what? They read Quran. And some of them go to the grave and they do what? They pray. Now janazah is different. Janazah is different. One exception is what? Janazah. Person passed away and they got buried and you didn't get to pray on them. You could go to their grave and pray what? Salat al janazah. That's the only exception. The only exception. I'm talking about like person makes what? Like salat. You know. And so those are the 6 things. If we're mindful of these things, and I wish I had some better examples because there's a lot of examples that people do, but you don't memorize them. But when you
examples,
huh?
you need examples.
Yeah, give us some examples that violate the time and the place.
Let me give you like 4 or 5. So,
okay. Okay. Now, when he gives us the examples, we have to put it. Did they violate the time? Did they violate the amount? Did they violate the place? Did they violate the type? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, one is, I mean, this is something I will tell you something that happened to me. Sometimes they recommend prayers for people so that if they want something from Allah, but they have to pray naked, no clothes on.
Wow.
So you do it in your house, no clothes on.
Oh,
God see you. And most times it's going to be, they will say like the ayam will be when the moon is. They will just do something when the moon is out, or do it 12 o'clock in the night, or do it 2 o'clock, whatever. And
okay, so 2 o'clock.
That's just one.
Do it at 2 a.m. That would be what?
Time.
Time. Naked would be al-kayfiyya. And what salat can be accepted while a person has no. One of the conditions for the acceptance of salat is what? Settle lower. Covering your private. Dr. Ali, we got you on tape, bro. We got you on tape. He couldn't resist. He couldn't resist.
So
he could not resist.
Another one. This one particularly, it was given to me. That is, so when you want to get in a fight with someone, I don't get in a fight with them. Someone else gave me that, if maybe something happens to you. So you want to fight with someone, and maybe you know the guy so well. So wherever he steps on, maybe he steps on something, the prince, pack it up, and recite, Alam nashrah laka sadrak, whatever. I think about 7 times.
Wow.
Then you pour it on the guy.
Wow.
Then you can deal with him anyhow. He won't be able to lift his hand or
really
fight you.
Wow.
So
There's so much there. Superstition.
Another one was given to me. This one too is particularly to me. Actually, because it's some time. This one was given to someone. So it's we recite it is Surah Al-Fatiha. So the first Alhamdulillah Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim 100 times. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Increase it, that's 200. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim
300.
Yeah. So you go to the number of what you have, but you are not reading it every day. So the 100 for the first one is for the first day. The second day, you just say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Then Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim goes 200. Third day, Malik Yawmiddin, and when you do it up to the seventh day, you would any imra that you talk to, will definitely obey you and
she'll fall in love with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the guy did it for like 3 days and he stopped because it got to a point, and this is real. You started feeling your head heavy and you feel something is happening that you can't really describe, that you know is not right around where you are when you're doing those things, and then you just have to stop. So clearly, maybe it's something a gene asked for that you're being told to do, and that would lead to something else like that. So that's another one that is common back home that people do. Another one is adhkar. Yeah, adhkar. Some people do la ilaha illallah 100,000 a day, and they have to keep it up, doing it every day. So la ilaha illallah 100,000. Another one is the Quran. So they can just tell you to buy a Quran, maybe Surah Al-Yasin, tear that page, cut it into pieces, match it up, and then you can cook it with your food and
wow.
For protection.
Wow.
So I have a lot of examples. In madrasa, when you recite Surah Al-Yasin, for example, maybe you are memorizing the Quran and you get to Surah Al-Yasin, there's a type of animal you slaughter, and there's a kind of dua you make. When you keep on reading, when you get to another point, there's a kind of animal you slaughter. So you slaughter about 4 different animals till you finish the Quran. And for every stage that you get to, and they call them, there's what they call khutbah to Yasin. Like the khutbah for Yasin, that they have to read when they do that. So that's another one. Another one I've seen is this one happened in Salah. This guy, after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, then instead of reciting the surah, I was right there behind him that day, it was Fajr. And what he did was to recite an adhkar. So, Surah Al-Fatiha, then you just go to maybe just say, Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta khalaqtani, as surah, after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha.
Wow.
So basically, I mean, I should, because back home, and when you said drum set or whatever, that's not new. So in Nigeria, we have a group called RMQK. So all this name of R, the name like that, they are name of genes.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have different beliefs. So,
Walaikum salam. Take some tea.
So they do ta'deel of the meaning of the Quran. They change the meaning and everything. And one of those things they do is they call on the jinns to get, they are not hiding it. They call on the jinns to get them closer to Allah. Wow. So part of what they do is they go to their worship places in white, they have drum sets, like confirmed band guys with whatever, they play music, they dance, and so their prayer points, they pray the way the Christians pray, they pray the way the Muslims pray, and they add traditionalism. So the way the Mushrikun. So they put everything together, saying Allah is one. The way you worship Him doesn't matter. Just get to Him, either the Christian way, or the Muslim way, or the way the traditionalists do their thing. So all three combined, they call them RMQK, and a lot of followers.
Wow.
A lot of followers.
Not surprising. People love Dalala.
Yeah.
Like, alright, Jazakallah khairan ya ikhwan. We have a few things outside. Let's do some hospitality together. Spend a few minutes at least with each other. I think the wind is too bad outside. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير.